Hello, how are you today? We're going to be talking about standards on the podcast today because it's time to take a self-assessment. And I'm going to ask you some questions that you can ask yourself. Before I do, I'm going to read a quote by Tony Robbins that hopefully is going to get you thinking. He says, if you don't set a baseline standard for what you'll accept in life, you'll find it's easy to slip into behaviors and attitudes and a quality of life that's far below what you deserve. Now, I'm intentionally talking about this the week after I taught you about habit stacking. Whether you listened to that episode or not, doesn't matter. You can still listen to this episode, even if you didn't listen to last week's episode. But the reason why I'm sharing this is because habit stacking and setting our standards go hand in hand together. And I really want you to recognize within yourself what standards you are allowing and what standards you're not setting that are messing up your success in your business. First of all, without judgment of them or you, what and who are you allowing in your life that are below your standards? Do you have people that you let into your life because they're on your team or because you hope they're going to be a client one day or a customer? What is it for you? Where are you letting your standard drop? And what is that about? Answer that question. Number 2, what will you stop allowing in your life today because you took the time to listen to this podcast and be mindful about this? What will you stop allowing in your life today? What standards have you set for yourself that are holding you down? For example, have you allowed a standard that you don't need to hit your company's rank this month? Have you allowed the standard that you just don't hold your rank? Is that a standard you're allowing in your life right now? Are you okay with it? Maybe you're not okay with it, but maybe your standard is, it is what it is, and there's nothing I can do about it. Baloney! Not true. Not true. What are some new standards for your work life that you could set that would be in line with your goals 6 months from now, 12 months from now, 18 months from now? The goals that you will achieve in those time periods begin today, sort of like what we talked about last week, hooking your future self up with the habit stacking, the decisions, the consistency that you're willing to put in place today so that your tomorrow self, your future self gets to reap the rewards. What are some new standards for your personal life? Have you allowed yourself to let go of self-care? Have you let go of exercise? Have you let go of healthy eating? Have you let go of sleep? Do you know how many entrepreneurs let sleep and exercise go when they get overwhelmed? If I were to take a survey of all of my clients, whether they're high performers or they're just getting started or whatever it is, what they say over and over and over again is, well, things got really busy, so I just cut sleep out because I told myself I can sleep when I die. I used to say that. Guess what? Then I ended up in adrenal fatigue with a thyroid that wasn't working, kidneys that weren't functioning, a liver that wasn't functioning, and there were a bunch of other things like involved with that too, like I was diagnosed with CPTSD from trauma and abuse. I had high levels of uranium in my water. Like there's all this stuff that we found out when I had my blood work and my hair analysis mineral test done. But the point is, sleep is essential. And so often what I see, especially network marketers, is they get running and they get going and they're just working, especially those of you that are moms with little kids and you are doing things with your kids all day and then you just cut into your sleep at night. And I did it too. But there is a consequence for that. So what standard can you set for yourself? A standard that I set for myself about 4 months ago, is that my bedtime is 10:30 p.m. No matter what. That's my bedtime. And I wake up between 6:30 and 7 every morning. I don't even need an alarm. My body just wakes up at that time and it just gets tired at that time. And I go to bed no matter what because my health was so damaged by lack of sleep, overworking. Had to make a new standard. So, what is the new standard that you're willing to make in your life so that you can perform and enjoy your life better? Like, what's that standard going to be for you? Are you going to, again, let's use the habit stacking mentality here. Let's not try to set like 5 new standards because odds are if you do that, you're just going to shut down and quit in like 2 days in. You'll be like, this is too much, or a weekend. You might make it 2 weeks, 3 weeks at best, right? And then we're like, oh, I can't do this, right? So what is one standard that you could commit to adjusting right now because you know it's not in line with the peace and happiness direction that you want to be going? What relationships need a new boundary? And to be clear, boundaries, people get confused on boundaries. I don't know if you know this, but boundaries are not put in place to try to control the other humans. They're not. Boundaries are things that you put in place that you will do to protect your own peace. So for example, let's say you and your husband aren't getting along and your husband is just super unhappy and it doesn't matter what you do, he's not happy. And so you and maybe he is somewhat emotionally abusive to you. And everything that you do, you feel like you're constantly walking on eggshells and he's never happy, no matter what car you get him, what vacations you go on, how much unconditional time you give him, he's never happy. And you finally are like, enough is enough and you can't do this anymore. What a healthy boundary. And let's also say that you want to stay married. Let's just assume that you want to stay married, okay? I'll have clients that come to me and say, Emily, what do I do? Like, what boundary can I set? Every boundary I set for him, like, I can't get him to do what I want. Well, that's because that's not a boundary. That's trying to control the humans, and you can't control the humans. Setting boundaries puts you in control of yourself. And then everyone else gets to behave however they want to behave. There's a very, very close but distinct difference in this way. So let's assume you want to stay married. And this is what a healthy boundary would look like. You would say, husband, when everything is nice and happy, husband, I know that you've really been struggling with like being happy. And, when we moved, you thought that would make it better and it didn't. When you got a new car, you thought it would make it better and it didn't. When you took that trip with your friends, you thought it would make it better and it didn't. And last week, when you were yelling at me, telling me that I need to stop being so emotional and I need to stop trying to help you feel better because nothing's going to make you feel better. When you were yelling at me, it reminded me how unhappy I am. And I just first want to say, I love you so much and I want to be with you forever. But when you yell at me in this way, it is ruining my relationship with you because the things that I think about you during and after are destructive. Not in like a violent way. I just start thinking thoughts about you like, I don't really like this person. And that's not even true. I love you. But when you say these things to me and when you act this way, it's literally ruining my relationship with you. So I understand that there is that you're in a hard time and I 100,000% support you and I love you more than anything else in the world. And because I love you so much, next time, I'm just going to assume there's going to be a next time because I can tell this is like a thing that just happens sometimes when you get really low and really down. But next time when you start taking things out on me, and I'm assuming that this relationship is only emotionally abusive and not physically abusive. If we're dealing with physical abuse, this would be a totally different conversation, by the way. Okay. This is emotional abuse where you're not in fear of your physical safety. Okay. It's just an example. So you would say, husband, what I just said, all that. Then you would say, so the next time that you start speaking to me this way, I'm just going to say to you, husband, this is what I was talking about last time, where when you start talking to me in this way, I don't like the way I feel. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove myself from the situation until you until you are not talking to me in this way. And I love you so much. And then you get in your car and go to your friend's house. You get in your car, you go to the grocery store, you get in your car, you go for a drive, you go to the gym, you go to a different room in the house, whatever it is. You create a physical boundary where you remove yourself from the situation until it's changed. And you got to be careful about this because you want to make sure you're doing it from an energy of love and an energy of preconceived intention. What most people do is they do it as a threat. If you don't stop yelling at me, I'm going to leave. And that usually doesn't go very well. Then you just upset the person even more. You might start putting him down or cutting him down or doing like reactive abuse things. Very common. They're very human of you. This is something that happens regularly in emotional abuse situations, for example. If we want to talk about it in like a less dramatic situation, like let's just say your upline is like constantly sending you messages of like, you're never working. And maybe it's like only at month end, maybe like all month long, she's really encouraging. And then at month end, when like she's not hitting her goals and you're not hitting your goals, and all of a sudden she's like, well, if you did this and you should do that and and she starts like harping on you, you could say, when things are really good at the beginning of the month, you could say, listen, upline, I don't know if you know that you do this, but at the end of every month, I see a pattern that you constantly say things to me like, and then use examples of phrases. You're never working. You're not working hard enough. You're not doing X, Y, and Z. You should be doing this. You should be reaching out. And I know that you don't really think this about me because at the beginning of the month, when you're in a better mood, you're saying things like, you're so amazing. I'm so grateful for you, da, 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 da. And so I just want you to know that because I care about our relationship so much, I'm not going to open any messages from you at the end of the month when they sound like that. And it's not that I'm mad at you. It's not that I'm giving you the silent treatment. It's not it's not even that you can't send them. You can totally send them if you want to. I'm just not going to open them to read them. And I don't want to talk. And we don't even need to have a conversation about it. I just want you to know that to protect my relationship with you, that's going to be my boundary. And then you get to be in your driver's seat and not open those messages and not respond to those messages. Or you can say, I'm going to open them, but I won't respond. And it's not about giving you the silent treatment. It's not about anything. I'm just not going to respond. And then you just get to control you. She gets to behave how she wants to behave. And you just get to control you. And the reason, and people don't like boundaries, by the way, so just fully anticipate some pushback here. But you just get to remain emotionally in control. And you might have some feelings that come up. You might be sad. You might feel a little anxious. You might feel a little nervous. These are all normal things when you're setting boundaries with people. But I promise you that if you will set a boundary that's within your control, that you're not trying to control other people, and that your boundary doesn't include them behaving in a certain way, it's going to bring you so much peace and happiness. And it's going to fix like 98% of the problems in your business too. Anytime that like things are going wrong like this and you're like, oh my gosh, like things are getting out of control and like she's really demanding and that, it's usually a problem with boundaries. Even if like you're in burnout, it's lack of boundaries on your part with yourself. Like maybe you haven't set a boundary with your bedtime. Maybe you haven't set a boundary with when you'll respond to messages. Maybe you haven't set a boundary with when you're going to do team calls and three-way chats and Zooms. And all of those problems can be solved by setting boundaries. But if you have a problem with setting boundaries and you struggle with it, try setting boundaries in the way I've explained to you today. And again, the questions you really want to ask yourself when you're setting a boundary is, am I in control of what happens when this happens? right? We can't have it be reliant on someone else's actions. We can't be like, if you don't do this, then I'm going to make you stop doing it, because you can't, right? We want to be able to have a boundary that we are in control of executing, that allows the other person to behave however they're going to behave, and we get to protect our peace in the process. If you struggle with setting boundaries with people in your business, if you struggle with setting standards, get yourself a membership to be on the rank already. Come to a live call. You can join at the basic membership for $97 a month. You can come on any calls all week long. I do 3 calls every single week where you have access to me. I have bonus calls with other coaches that are certified through the Life Coach School, just like me, but they also have advanced social seller certification where I certify them as a coach to even coach inside of Beyond the Rank. And we can help you set boundaries. But you have 3 opportunities every single week where you can come to a call and get coached by me and help you set a boundary. Sometimes it's hard to set your own boundaries because it's hard to like see outside of the box because your brain is like so trapped in all of the stories of like, I could never say that. I could never do that. I could never do that. But when you bring it to me and I can help you, I can help you see a different perspective sometimes and help you work through those blocks so that you can find a way to set boundaries that bring back the peace in your life and your business, whether it's with relationships, with others, or with self. So anyway, I hope this helps you today. I hope it will encourage you to set some new standards in your life, some new boundaries in your life to bring you greater peace in your business and in all of your relationships, but especially with the relationship with yourself. Have an amazing day.